the Flip Ears Aegis. Let's talk about it. This is a 2-driver IEM that costs around $479. Those IEM drivers are described as the Aegis Dynamic Driver and the Earthquake Bone Conductor Driver. So for all intents and purposes, this is a 2-driver with a bone conductor and a dynamic driver, which is a fairly simple setup. I got this from a fellow YouTuber named Make It Wayne. Let's start by talking about the build quality of this beautiful IEM. Okay, the shell of this, you'll notice you can see the bone conductor driver. It's like a silver circle that's kind of in the back now. It has a nice nozzle. It's kind of metallic-y feeling of the shell. Like, it's overall a nice quality, well-built shell, but it kind of has a resiny feel and a ping-ponginess to the shell. We'll talk about that a little bit more in the sound, but it has a nice looking faceplate. I like the look of this. I like the theme of this. I think it's a fun looking IEM. It does have a very recessed 2-pin cable connector and overall solid shell. The cable has easy to read R for right, L for left connectors. It's kind of a coppery cable. I'm not sure if this is the production cable, but it's the one that came on this unit. Chin slider stays in place. Y-split kind of has a nice little branding to it. I like the look and feel of this cable itself. It feels and looks nice. It's terminated in a 4.4, which is pretty consistent at this price point. This is kind of the box it comes with. Has a little envelope with some stuff in it, but it has this really nice leathery pouch in it. Let's take a look at it here in a moment, but it's just a really good looking case. It feels nice. It feels very premium. It feels like it would cost maybe $200 on the open market. I really like cases, and this is one of my favorite cases out there. It just looks and feels premium. These parts are soft where you actually put in your IEMs. It's just a really nice kind of premium feel that you don't see very often. So, cable would kind of go around here, and it's just all around a nice case. All right, let's talk about the sound quality of this IEM. This IEM, it graphs pretty well, but for me, it becomes a very shouty IEM, and meaning that its vocals don't sound very flat or clean. It's very colored. It's not the worst IEM out there, but it's tonally not what I personally prefer. I'll show you guys some graphs in a bit, but I want to talk a little bit about the driver and just kind of the shell itself. There is like a ping-ponginess to this driver where if you tap it, you'll be able to hear kind of reverberations on it, like a boom kind of a noise. So that is something to be concerned with this IEM. Not every single IEM that has a bone conductor driver is like that, but this one certainly is. I talked about it in a recent review of the Etude from Kiwi Ears, and this has a similar effect. So that's something to kind of note when you're purchasing this IEM, is that there will be a reverberation effect. And this reverberation effect is something that you really need to be extremely aware of. But let's look at some graphs and kind of talk about this IEM and how it compares in the market and go from there. Okay, let's look at the graph of the Flip Ears Aegis. Now, what you'll notice has a nice bass shelf, and I think bass heads are really going to like this, but it does have quite a bit of upper mids and can become a little bit shouty. For some people, this may not appear as shout, and some people might like this, and they have not experienced a lot of kind of dynamic drivers that have this feel. I wanted to show you a few other kind of dynamic drivers and a few other IEMs, and we'll kind of go from there. The first one I want to show you is the Flip Ears Aegis. Now, the Aegis is something that has a little bit more toned down treble, a little bit better mids for me. I really like the Aegis, the Legion, better than the Aegis, and I think it's the better IEM. It is also more expensive, but I fully would recommend the Legion, but the Aegis is something that I just didn't really jive with. I mean, the Legion, I think, just has better detail. It has better mids. It also has a really nice bass shelf, and it's not as V-shaped. It's just sonically in ear, it makes sense to me. And and I'm just talking about sound impressions. They also match kind of how it feels in this graph. Let's look at a few others. Another one I want to show you is kind of the trifecta. Now, the trifecta is a fun set. It's really bouncy and fun. And if you're looking for something like the trifecta, but with a bone conductor driver, and you're a fan of the trifecta, the Aegis, I think, would be for you. But if you're not, it wouldn't be. This is my Moondrop Ari, and I don't talk about it very much, but it was broken, and like some of the filters fell out, and that's kind of like some of the filtering effects of this driver. Like they kind of have a lot of energy up here, and I think some certain dynamic drivers have that. And I don't know a ton about tuning, but I just know that my Ari was broken and it has a ton of upper mids, and that effect isn't necessarily going to be bad, and you might like that on certain songs. But in the long run, to me, it has kind of a sharp, piercing effect. And like on certain things with spoken word and with just simple talking, depending on what kind of music or just things you're listening to, it can come across extremely harsh and poor. I wanted to show you a few others. I talked a little about the Kiwi as Etude. Now, the Etude is a $120 IEM. It has some BAs in there. It has a dynamic driver. To me, it's tuned a lot better. Has a little bit more sub bass, a little bit less upper mids. And so for me, that's the better IEM that would get the recommendation, especially at its price point. That doesn't mean that the Aegis is going to be a bad IEM, but it wasn't for me, and it's not going to be for quite a few people. Like just sonically listening to it, it wasn't my jam, and it was hard for me to connect with the Aegis despite multiple attempts with it. This reminds me a great deal of the Plutus Beast, which is an IEM that I think is okay, but I mean, the Plutus Beast, I mean, obviously doesn't have the bass shelf, but it kind of has that wonky upper mids. I think the Aegis is a better IEM, but the Plutus Beast is, it's like one of those IEMs that's maybe $40 now. It's a little bit older. One of the first bone conductor driver IEMs I tried about 2 years ago. And so it's just something to kind of note that this tuning, I think, is a little bit, I don't know, not that great. Like it's just not for me. The Plutus Beast wasn't for me, and the Aegis isn't really for me, and it's kind of hard to know what to do. Now, something like the Origin's a little bit more, but if you're already gonna spend, $500, why not spend like maybe $700 in the used market or something like that and get something like the The-Audio Origin. The-Audio Origin has way better mids, and I think it's an all-around better set. It also has a bone conductor driver, and it's kind of where I would recommend if you're looking at a high-scale bone conductor IEM. But, we're all different. Bone conductor driver IEMs will often have problems with details and resolution and like the crispiness of how they sound. Like there's a mask of how IEMs will sound, and bone conductor drivers sound a little bit in their own ballpark, and it's an experience that's not going to be for everybody. If you do have the Aegis, I would recommend just EQing it to my target using SquigLink. Basically, you just hit, like fix the target, and it'll come up with this EQ. This is a fine EQ, and it gets rid of a lot of this upper mids for me. It cleans up the bass and the mid bass and sub bass, which isn't really, it's really fine where it is. But the big thing is like this 300 dip. Like if you normalize this at like 500, what you'll notice is just like it can come across really, really high, and like you'll notice how far that is up here, and it just becomes just a tiny bit too much for me and for what I want. All right, the Flip Ears Aegis, how do I rank it? It's just not super competitive. It's just in that lines where I can see how other people would like it, but I personally do not like it and don't really connect with it. But I don't really find it to be a bad IEM, just kind of an okay IEM. I do have IEMs ranked at their price and kind of how they do. And if we look at how an IEM would do in that 400 to 900 range, there's other sets out here that I would recommend over the Flip Ears Aegis. It's just one of those sets that it doesn't get a recommendation. It doesn't hit the top 10. I just think it's very okay and for a very unique market, and it's just not for me. The IEM hobby is a funny thing. Bone conductor driver IEMs are kind of a unique thing all around. And so it's kind of hard sometimes when you see an IEM like this. It's very beautiful, has awesome packaging, and you're like, oh wow, even for that, that could be great. But the shoutiness of this IEM and the tuning itself is not something like the Legion. I find it a little bit less refined, a little bit more wild, and something that I feel like could be fixed maybe with more drivers, maybe with a different filtering, or with EQ. With EQ, I think this could be an excellent value, but you could also say that about a lot of different IEMs. Without EQ, I don't really find this IEM listenable, but with EQ, I find it a great deal of fun and enjoyable experience. Thanks for watching my video. If you guys have any questions, leave them in the comments below. You're still here. It's over. Go home. Oh, you're expecting a teaser for our next video. Well, we don't have that kind of money. What are you expecting? One of those store reviewers to show up in a saucy little leather number? Go. Oh, I can tell you one thing. We are going to have a collab video. We have no idea what it's going to be. Probably Kryn, maybe Chris, or Joyce. Don't deny it. She's got range. Go. Get out of here. Go.
Go!
Go.
Go on with you!
You're mid, you're mid, you're mid, you're legendary. You're mid, Jaytis out.